So, that's how it is. If you do backdoor weebling, horbling, maneuvering, voila. Instant law. 10th Amendment, I don't want this person going to that school because of their color. 10th Amendment, you get to the back of the bus. And it's disgusting. I'm disgusted by any deviation of the Constitution, my friends. I don't care if you say it's a felony to own a rifle with a collapsible buttstock. I don't care if you say if you are of this nationality, you cannot drink from that drinking fountain. The Constitution is our way of life. It's how we live. It separates us from North Korea, Cuba, Soviet Union, which is still a little bit of a threat these days, Iran, okay? We are separated because our founding fathers gave us constitutional rights. Now, there's one thing I'm going to mention. I forgot to mention it now. I'm going to talk about the hypocrisy. I totally forgot to mention it, but thank God I caught myself. Hypocrisy. Let's talk about the hypocrisy of segregationists. Strom Thurmond was 100 years old, Klansman. He died in the Senate. He was a senator for like 60 years. It is rumored, not proven, it is rumored that he was a white supremacist. That was a fact. It was rumored that he had an affair with a black person, and it is rumored they have a child. That is in dispute. Thomas Jefferson, and I took a literature class last semester. January to May of last year, I took a literature class. We had to open with a paragraph, a passage, a poem. I opened with a Thomas Jefferson quote one day. It was a Thomas Jefferson quote condemning slavery. And I compared Thomas Jefferson to Dianne Feinstein. I did. Thomas Jefferson said slavery is wrong. And my response to that is, Mr. Jefferson, if slavery is wrong, why are those people chained up in your backyard? Compared to Dianne Feinstein, the Second Amendment should be revoked. There's my gun. Okay? There are anti-gun politicians that were caught owning guns, carrying guns, anti-gun celebrities caught with armed guards, anti-gun politicians live in mansions behind gated walls, ride around in bomb-proof limousines with armed guards. Okay? Now, Thomas Jefferson also had an affair with one of his slaves. Yes, he did. That was scientifically proven by DNA. They compared DNA to people living today, and they scientifically proved that as a fact. Thomas Jefferson was 44 years old. He had an affair, if you want to call it that, with his 14-year-old slave. She was 75% white, 25% black. She was his slave. They had an affair. They had 6 kids. That is a fact. So at one point you have segregationists that are in the back room having affairs with people that they consider to be, quote, inferior or inhuman or subhuman. And then the anti-gun community, this person wants to revoke the Second Amendment, but yet their bodyguard gets caught carrying a gun. Or they get caught carrying a gun. That's the hypocrisy of it. Has segregation and gun control ever been blended together as one? Absolutely. You know who was the most famous politician in history that blended segregation and gun control? I'll give you a clue. Really short, really skinny, had really greasy hair, had a real shitty mustache. Real stupid little mustache. You get the idea? You know, figured it out yet? Here's his problem. He carried 2 guns. He had a 25 caliber gun and a 380 caliber gun on him at all times. He was protected by a battalion of guards whenever he went outside. He lived in a fortress that was protected by a garrison. He blended gun control and segregation seamlessly. The very first Nuremberg, this is why a lot of the old-time people are fanatical about the Second Amendment. And this is why the old-time people panic when they see a Second Amendment opponent. The very first Nuremberg law ever passed, and you look this up, the very first Nuremberg law ever passed, Jews cannot own guns and ammunition. No Jewish person in the district can own a gun or ammunition. They must surrender to the police by X date or they will be imprisoned. That's right. That's how it started. You know how it ended? When my grandfather excavated a mass grave of men, women, children, and babies and started pulling them out to give them some kind of honorable, dignified burial. That's how it ended. Now, do I think that our government is going to become totalitarian? No, I do not. But some people do. Our government, Newt Gingrich said this, our government was deliberately designed not to work, and it doesn't, obviously. That way, a dictator cannot take control. But segregation and gun control are the same thing. Backdoor weebling and horbling, backdoor finagling of the Constitution or of human rights. Because I have a minute, I'm going to finish with one thing. The last video I made of last year, I made it on Thursday. I said my cousin's coming over on Saturday with his wife and kid. My cousin is a New York State trooper full-time, and he's a part-time Army National Guard captain. I said he has to go to Afghanistan this month. This is January. He came over Saturday and told me that change of plans. He's going to Kuwait this month. Some of my viewers were concerned about him. They wished him well. They had good thoughts of him, which I greatly appreciate. My family greatly appreciates it. We are always concerned for his well-being when he's deployed. And I greatly appreciate the fact that some of my viewers took out their time to think of my cousin, who is serving our country. And I thank you for that.